Upside Down Drawing with Mr. G. Now, I did this a little out of sequence. This is the first thing that we were supposed to do. So we're going to tape down our 2 pieces of paper, picture and the graph, and then we're going to take another 2 pieces of paper and put them over it so we can kind of start at the top. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure. I'm just going to draw in these little graph marks just at the top so they'll always be in line and we'll always know where we are in the drawing process. When I start this drawing, I'm going to look at the graphs by themselves, and I'm going to go to the second piece because the first one is already empty, and I'm going to take my little cheat sheet and I'm going to mark where those things sit on the graph. So I'm going to come over here and look where those lines, so this way I can kind of copy where they are from the actual picture to my drawing picture. So I'm just going to give them a little bit of a start, and then I know my starting point. And then I'm going to just try my very best to draw what I see. These lines that are going up and kind of curving out and then coming around. I don't know, almost looks like maybe a head or something. Obviously we know what the picture is, but we're not trying to name things. We're not trying to name this is a hoof. We're just trying to name this is a shape that goes this way and it comes in and it goes out. So now I'm going to try to measure where the top of this line kind of goes to right here. So I'm marking where it is in the graph, and then I'm going to come over and I'm going to line it up on the graph exactly the same way, and then I'm going to find out that this is where that is. So then I know where to put that side of the, if we looked at it, knew what it was, it would be hoof, but where to put that line. And then we know we can just kind of connect it. That's the nice thing about using these little cheat sheets, is we know how to go from one line to another by just connecting those dots. Almost like a dot to dot if you've ever done those. So now we've already completed that square. We've already done that part of it. So then we'll take the next one. We're going to find out how high this shape is, and we're going to mark it over here. And it's okay to put extra markings on your drawing. You can always erase them later. So I'm just going to put it over here just to measure where it's at. So then I know this is very accurate when I put it up there. And I'm just going to draw what I see. It's not a very complicated drawing. It's just a couple of curves here and there. And now I'm going to want to try to connect it down there. So I've almost got this third square already finished. And I'm not in a hurry here, but I'm just showing you how this part of it can be really easy. So I'm going to go down to the third square. I kind of forgot to do that one piece up in the top right in that third square. But I guess I will come back to it. This one just looks like a tiny little curved line that goes a little bit over the graph square. And then this one's going to come down. What I want to do is I want to measure where it hits that side of the graph, or where it hits that side of the square. So it looks like it's right about here on that square. And then I'm going to mark the top of that, and then I'm going to bring it over to here, measure it up, square it up, and then I'll make a little mark. And this is where that next dot will be. That's where that next connection will be. So I'll be able to draw it in and then just kind of connect it right up. And then I'll look for my next measuring spot. So I've noticed that this shape comes down and it starts to curve out right where that other shape curves. And I'm noticing that this kind of digs into that first square in that second row. So I went a little bit into there. Now I want to measure, where's this line going to come to? So I'm going to take my square, line it up with the square, and then I'm going to make that mark where that line comes into. So I know that it comes out a little bit, and then it ends up right where that little dot is. So really what this comes down to is using this grid system. It's almost as if you are cheating a little bit, although you're not really. Artists have been doing this for centuries, hundreds of years they've been using grids. to accurately depict drawings, especially when they didn't have photographs, because photography wasn't invented for a long time after that. So they needed a way to be accurate. And they discovered that using this grid system was the best way to do that. You'll see I'm just connecting the lines there of that shape. And I know it goes down, and then it kind of gets a little bit wider over here. So all of this has to do with really drawing the lines that we see, and then we measure the lines from one distance of a line to another distance of a line. I'm going to speed this up a little bit so we can kind of see how the rest of it goes. This is where I finally realized, hey, I'm supposed to have my marker sheet, my cover sheet over this. And see, now you'll see that I noticed that, hey, I missed a spot. So that's why, one of the reasons why it's really handy to have this cover-up sheet too. Plus it makes it so much less overwhelming. When you see a whole picture, then you're like, ah. But if you go little by little, it makes things a lot easier. So I'm doing a little bit of measuring right there. And I know that I'm going to put this little shape right about here. Mark those out, and then I'll put the shape. And it was right about here, I noticed that I made a little bit of a mistake in my line right there. And so I need to correct that. I'm noticing that the negative space looks different. It kind of makes more of a triangle pointer shape going down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure that, where that kind of comes in, right that little spot right there, and make sure that it's accurate. And it looks like I got it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it over, and I'm going to see where that space goes to. See, my line went a little bit too far up there, so I'm going to change it. And that's the best beauty about pencil drawing, is we have an eraser. We can always use it. A little bit easier than painting. Now I'm going to really speed things up here so you can see how the rest of the drawing, the upside down drawing, takes shape. You always do want to make sure that you keep those little markings aligned with the graph, and then you will always be as accurate as possible. You'll see that I made a little bit of a mistake there. I noticed that it didn't look exactly the same. It didn't match up to the graph, so I made a little bit of a change. And I'm just following the little lines and doing my best to copy the shapes that I see, the lines that I see. Not what I think this is a nose or this is an eye, but I'm just looking at those shapes. That's why we do it upside down, so we don't know what those shapes really are. And also, that's one of the reasons why we cover it up, so we don't know what those shapes really are until we reveal it a little bit later on. That helps your brain get into the mode of drawing what we see. And there's the final drawing. And we've got the last little bits, the last square due, and we are finished here. Here is the final drawing. course, on the right side. And there's some little differences, but we'd get the idea. Thanks for watching.